Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Good day.
Hey guys, we have talked off and on about like putting together some kind of Patreon thing.
Yeah.
And it's never really kind of gelled because I always feel just a little weird asking people to pay a certain amount of money and then, they get into the Patreon or something and they're like, is this really worth it? And
Yeah.
so I thought that I would suggest, and let's see how you feel about it. Let's see how the listeners feel about it. Kind of a value for value model in that a lot of people are doing things for us. Ron Forbeck, Danny Williford are constantly liking and sharing the posts. Bob, all those guys that are regulars, and they're spreading the word. That's value right there, right? I'm in almost constant contact with Danny Williford, and he's working on something that is really cool that you guys are going to be like, what?
What?
And the listeners are going to be like, what?
Ooh.
And there's a real value in stuff like that.
Sure.
And Vanessa, your friend Micah, gave us a generous donation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to remind people we have a virtual tip jar on our website page.
Yep.
And if you want to help us out in any way, whether it's liking and sharing, whatever value you get out of this, you can put back in. And if you can't do anything but like and share, you got to know we appreciate that. We appreciate that value.
Yeah, definitely.
If for some reason you feel compelled to also throw money at us, well, hey, thank you.
That'd be great. Yeah, we've got, one of the guys that don't think we mentioned enough for sharing is also Ryan. Ryan, the Crypticon guy, always shares our stuff. Yeah, because I'm with you on the Patreon. I've joined over the years, probably 7 or 8. I think I'm still with like 3 of them. Because at some point, I'm like, all right, this is good. If we're going to do a Patreon, I want something really good.
Right.
So if you want to like join in the tip jar, find out, buy coffee, I think is one of the terms frequently used, and toss in, it'd be fun to see you weirdos do. Give it a chance. See if you can get little monkeys here to dance for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If there is some kind of donation involved, please leave a message and we'll read it on the air. We'll make fun of you. We'll do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be some people who this podcast is free and that's what it's worth to them. I completely understand that. I listen to a lot of podcasts that I do not donate a penny to.
Yeah.
Yep.
For whatever reason, this podcast as much more value to Danny Williford. And I really appreciate the hell out of that. But I want to make it so that whatever you think the podcast is worth, that's what you can give us. Whether it's your time, whether it's your talent, whether you're making jingles for us and stuff like that. All of that stuff is worth something to us.
Yeah. Or alternative logos.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I would miss from the Patreon it's funny because it's not even having the consistent idea of people, sending us money. It's not that's important to me, but I like the idea that we have extra content that people can unlock. Like, I like that.
Sure.
And I wonder how we can incorporate that into some kind of model moving forward.
So I thought about that and I decided I don't like that because what if somebody can't afford to give us money? You're gonna say you don't get this content?
That's what I mean is I wonder if there's a way where if somebody like Danny is doing something really nice, we can just, be like, come on in to the club. You are always welcome for free.
Like exchange of sweat equity as opposed to cash.
Exactly. Because I agree with you. I don't like the idea that I will often for example, for the Seattle International Film Festival, for the last 3 or 4 years, I've donated time and helped them come up with just do edits and do assistance in putting together their opening night montage. And because of that, I often get kickbacks like like tickets for the opening night or whatever the heck it is. But I can't afford that, or I haven't, at least in the past, been able to afford that. But by giving them my time and my energy, then I get to participate in something like that. And I wonder if there's something we can do that would allow people to either financially support us or give us, if they happen to want to decide to do something like a really cool logo or a song, or just say some really cool stuff about us online. You don't have to, but if you do, we love it. How we can say we appreciate that. And I also just love spending time with you guys. So I just want to make more content.
I'm about burned out on spending time with you guys. So this is really what I was trying to avoid.
Why? We're the only people you see. How are you burnt out?
As far as you know, I got 5 other podcasts during the week that I record here.
Don't you dare say that. You take that back, Kelly. I'm kind of hurt.
All right. So anyway, that was my thought, was let's just put that out in the air, that we appreciate everything. And the Patreon thing, we'll figure something out. But I like more the idea of making it inclusive to everyone. And you give us whatever you feel the show is worth.
Yeah, I definitely like that. And definitely want to say that we appreciate people. It doesn't matter if it's financial or like you said, like services or kind words or whatever. It's all amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The fact that you guys listen, that's amazing. Oh my God.
More than one.
I know. It's crazy. Every once in a while, somebody's like, how many people listen to you? And I'm like, I don't want to know because it's scary. But I love it. But it's terrifying.
It's not that many. So
yeah, right.
Not enough to be terrifying.
No.
Well, the big news, of course, this week was the Snyder Cut.
Sure. I have to confess, I had every intention of seeing it before today, and I have not yet managed to do it. So
yeah, it was the same boat.
I'll probably watch it tomorrow.
You fucking asshole.
Or tonight.
I'll explain part of the reason when we get around to my first one. But I'm curious to hear what you thought of the epic 4-hour.
Yeah, what was the experience for you?
Event.
Here's the thing. I saw Joss Whedon's Justice League in the theater, and I walked out and I was like,
Sure.
Now, I've watched all 4 hours and 2 minutes of Zack Snyder's, and I can objectively see that it is much better. But at the end, I still was like,
That's kind of my assumption of what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
But in IMAX.
Right.
My fun weirdness about the whole thing, about the whole situation, is for years, Zack Snyder was the whipping boy of nerds online. And then suddenly, no, he's going to be the savior of this movie. It's like, well, do you now like 300 and Watchmen and all the other stuff he's done? No, those still suck. Although I guess there's a book out on this whole thing talking about what he went through and how it was done. If it's any good, I'd be curious to read that.
Like a novel or an art book or something?
No, like a story of what happened.
I think I spent about enough time on this as I need to.
You probably know a lot more about it than I do.
So I didn't realize the reason why he stepped away from Justice League was that his daughter died.
Yeah. Daughter committed suicide.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's harrowing. I mean, because I was trying to work out why the hell Joss Whedon was behind it. And then, Joss Whedon's so much highlighted as of recent times because of his grossness. And so I was like, why is this all happening? And then why is Snyder now getting it back? Was he fired? What went on? And so it probably has nothing to do with it, but I wonder if people are just like, oh, he went through something and maybe we should give him a second chance, but it's probably too human.
Well, here's the weird thing. He said at one point that he had basically a finished version, his cut of the film, sitting on his computer without special effects.
Yeah.
And that got everybody thinking.
Right.
Now, I doubt very much that what we're seeing is still the Snyder cut, because this is more like the Snyder mulligan, or, it's a do-over, and he went and reshot a ton of stuff. So that means he didn't use just the stuff that was on his computer. some of it I thought was very good. Some of it looked like a video game.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the effects were bad enough that I was like, wow, this looks like a video game cutscene.
up, down, X, Y,
left, right. Yeah, that's really too bad to hear. And I wonder, I don't know. I was nervous about the fact that it's shot for IMAX and we're all going to watch it on our flat screens that are, not quite 16 by 9.
Its aspect ratio, too. At least when I started watching on HBO, and it's a box.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's a box. So I wonder if we're missing a lot of the experience by watching it at home when it should, if we're going to really give this a second chance, should have been seen in the theater.
I mean, maybe back in the old days when
we had movie theaters.
23-inch
20.
TV, but everybody's got a 50-inch TV minimum, and it looks fine. Trust me.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to hear. I mean, because that was my big concern, was just like, I know that when I saw the Avengers in the theater, and then when I saw it walking through Costco on their screens, I felt like one looked a lot stupider than the other. And so I just wonder if that carries across.
Well,
I guess I'll find out.
Yeah.
Probably tonight, ideally. And then I can say anything at all.
Oh, wow.
There
You're
you
going to
go.
sit down for 4 hours and watch this thing?
Yeah, we got to hurry this show up so I can get back over there. I'm going to make popcorn.
I didn't feel like my attention was drifting during any of the time, but I did think to myself at the end of it, I was like, they could have cut this down to about 2.5 hours and it would have been a great movie. So,
Jeez. I mean, they probably should. I don't know. I saw Justice League on an airplane, so my expectations are at 0.
right.
I was like, this movie is kind of funny. And that was the end of it. So I have nothing on, no hens in the game. What is the saying? I have no
dogs in the game.
No dogs in the game.
The dogs in the
maybe?
fight.
In the fight.
Yeah, there we go. I don't care, but I'm excited to watch it because I have nothing else going on in my life.
Well, there you go.
Oh, that's nice. Sure. But did you watch something?
I did.
Otherwise?
I did actually watch something otherwise. I watched the other big thing that everybody will have seen, hopefully. Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I did see that, yes.
I did see that too.
Yeah. So I personally was sort of like, it's fine. I mean, I like it should be fun. I'm excited about that, but I wasn't like blown away.
It hit me sort of like WandaVision did, where it's like, okay, hopefully this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
It's good. Like, okay, cool. Here, there's some cool action.
Right. I think I feel like there's not like the interesting mystery that I was getting from WandaVision. So I think that's the part where I'm like, we're not even to the second act yet because we're still introducing characters and ideas, and there's been no point of no return that's happened yet. So we're just still in the setup phase, and I think I just need to know like why I'm there and what like are they, obviously they're going to team up at some point, so I'm like, when is that going to happen? So just stuff like that I'm just not sold yet. That doesn't mean it's not good. It seems good. There's no story to me yet.
I loved it.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome.
How interesting that you guys loved Wanda right off the bat, and I was like, yeah, and you guys are like, yeah, and this, and I love this off the bat. Also, keep in mind, my favorite Marvel movie is the Captain America Winter Soldier.
Sure.
It feels the way that I want a lot of superhero films to feel like, very grounded in real world. And then there's these people who can do, extra special things.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they're bringing up with this group of people who thought things were better during the blip.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that had to be addressed, because when you bring back several billion people, that's going to cause huge problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I liked that being finally addressed. And I just really like Anthony Mackie as an actor.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's something very charismatic about him. I can't take my eyes off him.
Is Anthony Mackie the guy who plays Winter Soldier, or
He's the Falcon?
Falcon. Yeah. No, he's incredible. And I do like the blip stuff a lot. I really enjoyed the bit where they have the bank scene where they're trying to get a loan, and he's like, you have no history for the last 5 years of like employment or ins and outs. And it's like, yeah, no one does. Like, what the fuck?
And then he still wants a selfie with him.
Yeah.
That.
Are you serious?
They really wanted us to hate him. They really wanted us to hate that guy.
But yeah, I think it looks like it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I think it was more just, it started off with such a bang. That opening scene is so freaking cool.
Yeah, that was great.
And establishing why the Falcon really matters as a hero was great. Because Bucky'd already gotten that. They've gotten that out quite thoroughly. And I felt the Falcon, although he was through the Avengers, Captain America and the Falcon was one of my favorite comics when I was a little kid. So I didn't feel they'd yet developed him well enough.
Right.
Which is what I like about this.
Yeah. Him not taking up that mantle is really neat. I'm very compelled by that element for sure. Because it's like, okay, he has to go through some kind of journey to feel like he's worthy of this position that's been imparted upon him.
And then speaking of taking up the mantle, we know Kurt Russell's son is a very handsome dude, but when he walked out in the Captain America uniform, I was like, who is this old man?
Is that who that guy was?
That's Wyatt Russell. Yeah,
he looks super goofy.
Yeah. I was like, well, they needed to do something else with the fitting of that helmet.
It looked real bad. Yeah, I was like, man, this is the thing that's going to inspire the nation.
At first I thought, oh, well, they're doing this almost like to make us hate him because he looks funny. Yeah. But then I realized it was Wyatt Russell, and I'm like, well, wait, that guy's super handsome also. They just didn't get this helmet right for him.
Right. Or they just want us to hate this person immediately.
Right.
Could be. Yeah. Squish his face.
Yeah, make his nose look very odd in this mask.
Well, okay. I'm going to say part of the reason I did not watch the Justice League movie was I found myself going down a massive Abel Ferrara hole.
Oh.
I thought I'd seen the Driller Killer, but I'm not sure if I did or because there's, a couple movies called. There's Driller Killer and there's The Driller Killer, which is his. I was like, well, I'm going to watch it again, see what it's like. And I know I've seen it before, but I'm watching this going, I have a very, very different view of this film now. And it blew me away. I'm like, this is deep, dark, nasty New York. Late 70s, about as dark as New York ever gets on screen. And
wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, oddly naturalistic, which as I was looking further, I found out why, was that they basically was doing an interview with him because this was through Arrow. So, of course, they've got a bunch of extras. So I'm watching an extra with them. And he's talking about, we really didn't do scripts. We pretended to write a script so we could give it to the investors, and then we never really used it.
Wow.
But
that's ballsy as hell.
So in the last couple weeks, I watched Driller Killer, Miss 45, King of New York, and The Addiction. And they're all good.
Is Miss 45 one that I will love? I've always thought it might be, but it almost seems too sleazy for me.
No, it's not as sleazy as The Driller Killer.
Oh, okay.
It's a different kind of sleazy, but you know how most rape revenge movies are focus really sick in the beginning?
Yes.
They spit on your grave and things like that. This has some hard scenes right at the beginning, and where she goes from it and what it does to her in the performance is incredible. And the way she reacts and the way she changes to get vengeance, it's not about the people that attacked her. It's just all men. So,
wow.
But because her character can't speak. So that adds an interesting element. So yeah, I thought it was also one after I started watching, I've seen this one too.
Is this all on your new Arrow streaming channel or something?
King of New York might have been on something else, but I'm pretty sure Miss 45 and Driller Killer were both Arrow. And The Addiction was, the last one I watched was probably Prime or Shudder. Because that's a pretty big movie. I mean, you're talking Lily Taylor, Edie Falco, Christopher Walken. And Christopher Walken has one of those Glenn Ross scenes, like Alec Baldwin, where he's in one scene in the movie, basically, but he owns the freaking screen. And Lily Taylor is astounding.
Oh.
And her performance is just ridiculous. So is, forgot her name, but the lady in Miss 45 is crazy good. And Abel actually plays the driller killer.
Oh,
So that's
I didn't know that.
weird. I love this. The Addiction's a little more arty. It's shot in black and white. It's really violent, which might have been part of the reason he wanted black and white, because even by the other films I watched, it's like, damn. Has this line to show you the deepness of it. Existence is the search for release from our habit, and our habit is the only release we can find. Like, ouch. Nihilistic as hell, but so is the full film. But yeah, and King of New York, fantastic film. Christopher Walken plays the king.
Is The Addiction the vampire one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't think I've seen that either.
Yeah, I was surprised. I looked his stuff up, and I thought, oh, I'll check out his movies. He's done that 50. He's got like 50 directing credits, a lot of music videos. I'm still like, Jesus, oh, okay. I guess he's done a lot. Still working now. That was my giant rabbit hole last couple weeks.
Swallowed you whole.
Yeah.
Well, I found something very cool on Netflix. It just came up. Peter Rawlik, the writer, recommended The Block Island Sound. And it is cool and creepy. It's about a guy who is taking care of his father. Something happened to his father when he was out fishing on his fishing boat, and he hasn't been the same since. And he's sleepwalking, and he's sometimes taking the boat out at night. And then one night he disappears, and the son is sure that somebody like attacked him while he was on the boat. So the son starts doing his own search and investigation, and he goes out on the boat one night and starts doing the same thing that his dad was doing.
Oh, wow.
So he starts sleepwalking and all this stuff, and it feels very, it's got some like Lovecraftian elements, but it's not the small town by the sea part. It's the kind of cosmic horror of it all.
Ooh.
And I really liked it, and I really loved the ending.
Nice.
So, The Block Island Sound.
Sounds awesome, but also, if it's aliens, I don't think I can do it. I think that would destroy me, and I'd never sleep again.
Interesting.
What if I accidentally take a boat out and then I end up becoming abducted, and then I do it every night because that's the call that they have for me, their siren song. I'm sure that's not the plot, but anyway. So, like I've seen a couple things, nothing crazy exciting to talk about, but something that I did do, which was really interesting. A friend of mine messaged me a couple nights ago and was like, hey, so I just finished this game, and I have a free pass for somebody to play it a second time with me. And it's one of those kind of narration games where you try to like make decisions and you think you're making the right one, but you're probably just going to kill everybody involved. So it's a horror game. It's part of something called the Dark Pictures, which it's a series of little games, little stories. And this one is called Little Hope. And it's starring Will Poulter, which you guys might remember from Midsommar. He's like the irritating kind of.
You have to narrow that down.
I know.
And irritating for that movie.
It could be anybody. He's kind of, oh God, I can't even describe it.
Was he from the original pack, like her boyfriend, one of her boyfriend's friends?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
That narrows it down, because they were all annoying.
Yes. Not a smart one, but I don't know if he was a druggy one. There were a lot of annoying, irritating guys. But no, it was a super fun, creepy, interesting game with a couple of badly written characters that I was like, oh no, because you're switching between playing different characters and trying not to get them killed. And I got everyone killed except for one person by the end. So that was awesome.
Final person.
How do you play it? What are you playing on?
So I was playing on PlayStation 4. I believe it's available for a few platforms, but the way that I played it is you kind of link up with your other friends' accounts, and then each of you takes a character and you're kind of going through interactions. So they do a lot of these cutscenes where it's like, okay, the bus crashes, and now you have some people talking about who they are and why they're there and what's up with the bus. And then it shows you 3 different options of things to say, and you kind of select it. But on your friend's line, all they see is this person looking kind of dumb off into the distance and then turning and going, I have an idea. How about we do blank? And you have your headphone hooked up into your controller. So I could hear my friend just kind of laughing and be like, you look so stupid right now. And vice versa. But it's really fun because then you're switching between different characters and your decisions are affecting them and theirs are affecting yours. So it was just a really interesting narrative experience as far as like horror games go.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
What was the name again?
It's called Little Hope. Takes place across 3 different time periods. It has to do with kind of the Salem witch trials meets the 1970s meets current era.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah. Bus drives into some fog, has an issue.
Freddy pops up. Kid with a pumpkin on his head pops up.
Little girl pops up. Creepy little girl pops up, and they have to be rerouted to a town called Little Hope, of which there are strange things occurring.
What a wonderful town to live in. Where do you live, Little Hope?
Yep, totally.
Is that a mindset or an actual place?
It's both. Spoiler alert, it's both.
Interesting you would mention video games, because the other one I was going to talk about was a documentary I watched on Paramount Plus, Console Wars.
Oh.
Which is the story of Nintendo versus Sega.
Oh, sure. I remember those days.
It's really good.
Huh.
Bizarrely interesting.
Yeah, because it was almost like you had a personality type. Yeah. Like if you were a Sega kid, you were like an edgy, cool.
Or you wanted to be.
Different, not of the norm. But if you were an NES kid, then it's like you're kind of part of this underground zeitgeist that's occurring.
Well, they looked at Nintendo. What Sega did is they looked at Nintendo and said, we're going to make them look like they're for your little brother.
Yeah.
Well, Sega's for, the older brother. So came with it.
Which makes sense because my older brother had the Sega. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah. And it did have a really short, it felt like forever because I was a kid, but it did have a short lifetime because I think we ended up with like 8 games for it. Oh, wow. But it felt like a lot at the time.
Well, they're still around in that Sonic's still a character and all the stuff there, but you don't buy a Sega console anymore.
Wow.
PlayStation or Xbox is about it.
When does it end? Like what era does it stop kind of the story?
I think it's almost all in the 90s, except for like the pre-talk where they talk about Nintendo coming up. And then, so it basically covers that rise and fall and what happened to Nintendo at that point.
That sounds amazing. I definitely have to watch that.
Mm-hmm. That does sound cool. Okay, guys, how about we take a break? But just before we do that, I want to remind everybody, if you're listening on release day, which is Thursday, tomorrow is the premiere of Invincible on Amazon Prime.
Oh, that's right. Holy shit. I forgot about that. Oh, yeah.
I don't think I even know what this is.
Invincible, the comic book, is now an animated series coming on Prime. The first 3 episodes release on Friday.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for catching me up.
Yes. So let's take a break. And then we are coming back. We are talking, Vanessa, this was your topic choice.
It is.
Spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung. The birds are a-calling. The blossoms are falling upon the ground. So, yes.
All right. We'll be right
Cherry
back.
blossoms.
You're a strong man, Brian.
Am I too strong?
Then shower up with Irish Spring.
The double deodorant soap.
The very one to get a strong man fresh. Look, and these green and white stripes are 2 deodorants to get a man fresh and clean.
What a fine, fresh scent.
That's why I use it too.
Irish Spring with 2 deodorants.
Gets a strong man fresh.
We are back. Vanessa, this is your topic. Why don't you start us off?
Absolutely. So, you guys might even be a little surprised at my pick this week. Spring is coming. I was really excited about the idea of having us talk about spring-related content, films that might have some kind of theme around spring or rebirth or spring break or something like that, so long as it gives you that spring feel. So I went with the movie, go figure, 2014's Spring.
Look, man, you need to change up your environment.
You're the most attractive person I've ever seen. Go out with me tomorrow night.
No.
Buongiorno.
Do you remember my name?
You never told me.
Scusa.
You're learning.
La donne sono del gelo del mondo.
And you're not afraid to embarrass yourself. That's good.
I'm Evan.
Louise.
I've been seeing this Italian girl. She's really pretty. So, I only get to see you at night.
Our nights together must remain a secret.
She acts kind of weird sometimes, and I found something that gives me some doubts. Are you really from around here?
I'm half undiscovered science, bunch of confusing biochemistry, and some crazy hormones.
You probably lie a lot.
I've actually never lied to you. Even I'm a mystery to myself. I have a medical condition that comes and goes, and it's a very long story.
I gotta make sure you're the kind of crazy I can deal with.
Italian women, the best. I think you could be the love of my life.
I don't think you're ready for where this is going.
Explain it to me. Comes around a couple times if you're lucky. Life probably seems short no matter what.
A fine film.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to think because I know what you think of one of their other movies, but I liked it.
Well, I was definitely, kind of almost undecided on Endless. I kind of swung back and forth on that guy.
Sure.
Synchronic, obviously, I did not enjoy. I like parts of it. Just there's some parts I hate. Parts I love and parts I hate. So with Spring, I was like, this is supposed to be one of their best ones. It's definitely one of their earliest ones. And I should check this out. And I've been meaning to watch it for years. So just to hop right in, Rotten Tomatoes for this film has it at 85% for critics and 71% for audience. The budget is unknown. I could not for the life of me find the budget for this thing, but box office brought in $49,000, 970. So I guess 50,000.
From what I've heard, they might have made a profit.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's
not this one.
Their first one.
This one, they did use a drone. They did fly to Italy. They did get a couple of known names, and I don't mean like known names, but people who've acted in things that were recognizable enough. So they probably lost at least during having their theater run, but I think they probably made it up in the back end because they are distributed through Alamo Drafthouse Films. So
nice.
Yeah. So they got a really good deal out there. The director/writer for this is Justin Benson, who has 9 projects for directing under his belt, including some short projects as well as VHS Viral, Bone Storm, Spring, Endless, Synchronic. He did a little bit of Twilight Zone, and of course the upcoming Moon Knight, which is something we've talked about before.
Sure.
Yep.
His co-director, Aaron Moorhead, has 11 director credits. Most of the same stuff as Justin, but with a few more shorts thrown in. They're definitely a team. But he also has 27 cinematographer credits, which I thought was pretty interesting. So he was also the cinematographer on Synchronic, Endless, Spring, and lots of shorts. So he's probably the one who's got some really good eye for different ideas of how to move the camera about, how to try different things. Has taken up the reins on that for a couple of projects. The cast, there's a lot of randos in this, but I'm just going to say the 2 mains. So Evan is our lead, played by Lou Taylor Pussy. He's been in 47 things, including the 2019 American Horror Story. He was in You. I believe that's the show on Netflix. Evil Dead was kind of his big one, and then he's done lots and lots of TV small roles. The female lead in this is Nadia Hilker, who plays the character of Louise, the beautiful Italian girl who is funny because she's actually German. Well-known-ish German actress. However, she was also in 48 episodes of Walking Dead as Magna. 7 episodes of The 100, and a fair amount of German film and TV work, of which I could not tell you what is popular or not popular because I know nothing of it. So the plot is pretty interesting. It has a couple of moments where I feel like it sways between genres. I'm not 100% sure I love, but I also do not dislike. So we start off in this really sad, dark, stark moment of Evan with his mother, who's essentially on her last breaths. In those breaths, she gives this sort of really funny, sad joke about people at funerals, I think. And then she just dies. And he's like, Mom, it's so sad. And then you're like, okay, is it that kind of film? It has a real like beginning to Midsummer feel where you're like, oh, this is fucking rough. And then after the funeral, he goes drinking with a friend, and it kind of becomes this sort of like, I don't know, off the cuff buddy comedy for a beat where like, he's got some really good witty dialogue going with his buddy, but then ends up in this fight with this random guy, gets kicked out / then fired because apparently he works at that same bar. And then that night he gets a hot girl / who's his friend to come over to have sex with him. And then I don't think she does. It's a little unclear as to what goes on, but it's supposed to be kind of funny, I think. And parts of it are, but parts of it I was like, I don't know where this is going. Then it actually goes somewhere. So the next day he wakes up, she's gone, she's not in his bed anymore, and a cop is walking past the window, and he realizes that they're after him. The guy who he beat up in the bar, even though he deserved it, has obviously filed some kind of charges or put out a complaint on him. So he gets in a rideshare and makes his way to the airport, to which he looks at his rideshare companion and goes, where would you go? And they're like, I don't know. And there's this really nice reveal where you don't realize that he's in the car with somebody. So that was really lovely. And his father and him were always supposed to take a trip to Italy and had never quite done it. So he decides to go ahead and go to Italy. We then get a kind of follow-up buddy scene with some guys in a hostel, some British dudes who try to hit on some chicks and do some weed, and they're funny, annoying guys. So we spend a little more time in that world, and that's fine. And they go down south. They tell him, hey, do you want to take a car with us down south to the different part of Italy, this kind of neat little coastal town? He goes, yeah, why not? And when he's there, at one of the first places he goes to, he sees this gorgeous girl at the bar who he's getting drinks for his friends, and kind of says hi to her and has noticed her, and she's like, oh, okay, you want to come have sex with me? And he's like, I mean, I've got these drinks from my buddies there. And she's like, well, it's now or never. And he's like, well, how about I take you out on a date tomorrow? And she's like, no. And he's like, but could we, but I mean, and she's like, are you gay? Do you want to like sleep with those guys instead? And all of a sudden this really witty, lovely kind of connection is occurring between these two characters. These two actors have such a good, just have such great chemistry. They bounce off each other so nicely. And their dialogue just feels extremely fluid. Their personalities line up. You completely believe them as far as just like working off each other for these ridiculous lines and statements and jokes. But yeah, she turns him down, and then he decides he's going to stay in this town and try to woo her. He gets a job at a little farm, doing things, not quite sure what those things are, but it seems like stuff that's hard for him to figure out how to do. And he tries to pursue her, and it's a very, very tiny little seaside town, and he manages to get in a date with her, and they're just getting along so perfectly. But she keeps kind of reiterating, this is casual. This isn't something for real. I don't really date guys. She's a super smart, clever scientist woman who clearly is above his station, at least as far as hots go. Regardless, he finds himself falling in love with her. And it seems like maybe she loves him too. But then out of nowhere, she breaks it off with him. And this is very confusing to him because he's basically like moved to this weird southern Italian town, gotten a job. They hang out all their spare time together. They clearly enjoy each other's company. They've been going to museums, doing all the kind of Europe-y stuff. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. The only thing that we do know is that she is being a little suspicious. And there are things like he found a needle in her bathroom and he's like, is she a drug addict? And he asks her and she says, no. I have a thing. I have this thing. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm on top of it. So he gets very, very drunk, sees some cops, is worried that I guess they're after him from the small town he lives in like Philly or whatever, and like throws himself into her apartment, extremely drunk, gets in, stands in the doorway and sees this monstrous like octopus creature on the ground writhing around. And next to it is a needle. And he puts it together that this strange beast is actually her. Sticks her with it. She becomes the beautiful Italian woman that she was moments ago. And they talk it out. So what's going on with her? So she has this condition. It's mythical levels of, almost like Little Mermaid style. She's kind of got this almost curse, and every 20 years, I believe, she has to mate with somebody and get a new set of DNA. And then she takes that DNA and becomes like kind of a new person. And this way she lives forever. She's actually over 2,000 years old. And in fact, some of the paintings that they'd seen in a local museum are just of her. Now, it's really interesting because while this seems to be almost like a mythical curse, she's a woman of science. And so she is of the deep belief and understanding that there is a reason for it, and she's getting to the bottom of it. It has something to do with genetics. She's worked out her own gene sequencing. She totally, is on top of it with these shots. But the thing is, it just happens to work a little bit better if she does something like, say, kill and eat the annoying American guy who's walked through town, not him, but a different dude, or a live rabbit, or perhaps just any other living creature that she can just straight up eat raw. Now, she's a vegetarian, so that makes it extra complicated, right. And she has a lot of guilt over it. She has 24 hours until she's going to turn again because, shockingly, they had unprotected sex. So she has his DNA. She is slowly losing the ability to control her monstrosity, and keeps accidentally trying to eat him if she's not using her like needles. But he wants to do one of those final like before sunrise, before sunset style evenings of let's just spend these last 24 hours together and just walk the streets of Italy and enjoy each other's company and she's like, okay, but when I turn, you gotta go. And he's like, yeah, we'll see. And so she takes him to her hometown where he learns a lot more about the past, her family's past, and the myth behind it. And it turns out that her mother made a decision somewhere along the way not to turn. So maybe there is something that she can do about it. And she reveals that it's not that she chose, it's that she was in love. And when you're in love, then this thing doesn't work. So of course it becomes even more like Little Mermaid. It's like, oh my God, but if you're in love, then everything will work out so beautifully. I won't spoil the ending. The sun rises and she may or may not turn into something and eat him. Or she may or may not become human and decide to have his child. Who knows? That's the great mystery. But this film, man, it was really engaging and it was very unique and I liked a lot about it. First of all, unlike Synchronic, I know where things are. I know what location I was in at all times, who was in the room, and most likely, usually, why they were there. It was very thrilling. I understood the relationships of people. It was great.
I'm going to guess that you were saying that guy's a cinematographer, right? So
yeah.
He's the same cinematographer.
I don't know what happened. But I do know that this was one of the early uses of drone technology. So they actually went ahead and got a drone. And actually, I'll get back more into that in a second here. But they did try some really interesting, unique cinematography tricks that had not yet been used or tried. And maybe that lent to them thinking a little bit more about the shots ahead of time than in Synchronic. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what it is that made it so different for me. But it felt more thought through. That being said, it also almost felt like this had a bit of improv. It just felt so off the cuff and natural. I tried very, very, very hard to find out whether or not it was improv. Like if they did a Blair Witch and they just got little note cards and were like, talk about these things. But out of all the interviews I read, nothing talked about it. And stupidly, both on Wikipedia and on IMDb, the trivia sections are super sparse for this movie.
Sure.
I don't know why. It's an indie darling. It's done extremely well. I don't know why you can't find anything aside from like these goofy dudes talking about like why spring is interesting. And by the way, one of them has never fallen in love, so I don't know why he's writing this shit. But anyway, that's okay. The details on this, like I said, there's just really good little setups and payoffs. Like at one point we see him walking through an alley and we hear this cat like screaming in the distance. And then the next day we see that cat's dead. And we realize that down the road, we realize she's the one who ate it. So there's just these nice little setups. There's a rabbit that she has in a cage in her room, two rabbits actually. And she talks about how, she rescued them from a lab and whatever. And of course we're like, oh my God, she's going to end up eating them. And later we see a dead rabbit in the street and it's like, wonder if this is perhaps the rabbit. There's just a lot of thought that went into it. The monster for the most part is pretty fucking freaky. It's not consistent. It seems to change shape and idea a fair amount, but it's almost got this horror Lovecraftian strangeness to it. Like I do believe this idea that it's working out her DNA and what it's supposed to be and how it's evolving. I like the use of her strong belief in science over mysticism. I think that gives it a whole new interesting level. And it's about love.
Doesn't it kind of fall apart though? She's so science-based.
Yeah.
And yet here's this thing that's, unless you have this specific emotion that can't be measured in any way. Mm-hmm. And none of that took you out.
I think what I found interesting is that he was team emotion and she was team science. And because of that dynamic where he was like, but you just have to be in love. Like, haven't you ever felt love? And she's like, no. I think it's her way of trying to manage her situation. I think it makes a lot of sense that if you had some horrible thing going on, if you were afflicted with some illness or what, some people just like to pull out textbooks and go, I'm going to figure this shit out. I'm in control. I can work out my own. I am in charge of the agency over my body. And I think that's what she's doing. And in the end, we have the thing I didn't like, which was cute but annoying, is he's like, but aren't you in love now, though? I've done these things for you. What if you think about these moments we've shared together? Aren't we in love now, though? Like, it's really desperate and sad. But I do like this whole, dichotomy they've got there. So it didn't really fall apart for me in that sense. I do think they didn't need to try to explain as much of the science as they did.
Or even explain that it was love.
That too.
I think that we could have put that together.
I think you're right. Yeah. I actually think you're super right on that. Also, some of the CGI, even though it's fun, some of it's just piss poor. It's real bad. There's some moments where I'm like, that's not what a waist does, guys. It's the size of a pencil and the top half is big and the bottom half is big. I'm like, they would just break off in the middle at that point. I'm sorry. This is no longer reasonable, just geometry. Yeah, I don't know. And I do think that some of those scenes with the buddy stuff didn't necessarily need to be there. Those opening 3 scenes, I'm not mad about it, but it felt a little off. It just wasn't the right ramping into the film that I got. And I like the film I got. Yeah. So overall, I think I really liked it. The fun trivia that I picked up, there's only 2 pieces that exist on IMDb. So let me read this one out for you. Director Justin Benson on the aerial drone photography said, we had a very meticulous shot list and had a well thought out approach to the photography of the movie. And after all that was done, our first AC/Steadicam operator, William Tanner Sampson, came to us and said, hey, I've got this new drone I bought. Should I just bring it for the production? Maybe we could use it. We knew immediately how that would fit into our general approach to the photography of the movie. The photography should feel like an omniscient presence in the movie. It should feel very subjective, almost like a third all-powerful character. So Will came out with the drone, and after getting arrested with it at the Moscow airport, because they were thinking it was some kind of piece of military equipment and he was going to assault Russia with it, we got to use it. And any day the crew was off, co-director, cinematographer Aaron Moorhead and I would continue to shoot. On Sundays in Italy, we'd continue shooting, and that was when we do the drone photography with Will. Just grab as many shots as we could, experiment with it, see how it would work, and almost everything we shot with the drone made it into the edit.
Jeez.
It's one of those talking points of the movie. It's pretty cool. It's one of those things where one day, because a lot of people have started using them, and someday people are going to look at our movie and be like, why did Moorhead and Benson use a fucking toy helicopter over in this thing over and over and over again? So, yeah, I think that I don't know. I feel like they put a little bit more thought into it, which is kind of neat. So,
I remember when I saw this, that drone shot that's above Italy, I was like, holy shit, the production value on this just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? And it was just something that I had never seen in an indie film. So
yeah,
and
absolutely.
now it's super common.
Everywhere.
common.
Yeah. I mean, like people, I've seen enough drone photography of Anderson Island where I live, where some old guy bought a drone and was like, I'm going to get the lake today. And I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. And it's really weird.
All the indie movies where it's oh, look, the car's driving and suddenly the car's getting smaller. Here's the forest.
Yeah,
Like, all right.
totally.
So now that you've seen all the rest, you're going to now watch their first film?
Which one's their first one?
The one with the two guys in the cabin.
We went through this last time.
Yeah, last time we did too.
Retribution
Right.
or something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't see why not. Like, I'm not opposed to seeing more of their stuff. And I do want to rewatch Endless because I've heard that they're all tied in together and a lot of these characters pop back up into other scenes.
And doesn't Endless
have the guys from
wrap
Retribution
back to
or something?
their first film? The two
No.
guys?
Endless does. Yeah. But in a very minor way.
Yeah. I think I remember that scene from Endless.
I
frankly.
like Endless a lot, except, at the very end, there's this just piece of shit special effect that I was like, you guys couldn't drop another 10 grand on this or something to make this worth looking at.
Yeah, Resolution.
Sure. Resolution. Yeah. I might. I don't see why not. I mean, it's nice because I had this as an excuse to watch this film. So I've been wanting to see it for a long time anyway. I don't know. Maybe.
So would it be a Moorhead or a Benson averse?
Oh, or a Benson head or a Hedson verse.
More Ben verse.
More Ben verse.
More head.
It's really something different.
Gross. All right. So who's up next?
Want me to go next?
Sure.
Okay. I will dive in with a different take on spring. 2016's Prevenge.
I'm really sorry about your loss, and I know it's been very difficult for you. And at the end of the day, you've got this force of nature now inside you. Baby knows what to do. Baby will tell you what to do. It's just nature's way.
I think nature's a bit of an arse, though, don't you?
You're getting better at this.
I'm not in control. I don't want to know what's in there. I'm scared of her. I would swap her.
Darling, fuck. She can't hear you.
She can't. She's very articulate.
Kill him, or I'll kill you.
Do you want a drink?
If it's fun you're after, you've come to the right place.
I'm on the dark side. You would not believe what I've been doing recently.
Oh!
Very efficient with that one.
I was wondering if I could talk to you about child charity.
You're insane. I am a working mother.
Children these days are really spoiled. Like, Mummy, I want a PlayStation. Mummy, I want you to kill that man.
Listen to the sound of my voice.
Baby knows best.
You're a real bad girl.
Negativity's not good for the baby's
Frank.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about this. I've been wanting to watch it.
Well, it's on Shudder.
Sure.
So it's easy to see right now. It's Rotten Tomatoes score is interesting. The critics 91, the crowd 54.
Yeah.
The budget was 80,000. What is it? GPB.
Great British Pounds.
Yeah, there you go. Which 110,000 US. Their box office was 103,000.
Ouch.
That was very weird that IMDb listed it that way. The budget was British pound, but the box office was like, okay,
American
so is it
dollars.
just US release?
You need to convert that to ounces.
I think it'd be like half.
There you go.
That's not good.
So it's directed by Alice Lowe, which is this is her first feature. She's also a writer of a couple other things, Beehive and Life Spam. My Child is French.
What?
No idea what that means, but it sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But she's actually a fairly accomplished actress. She's done a lot of acting. She's in Black Mirror, Horrible Stories, fairly decent resume. And also starring in the film with Dan. She's the lead as well. So she's director, writer, and lead. Dan Renton Skinner, who's in High Rise, The Tracy Ullman Show. And Joe Hartley, who's in My Skin, and This Is England. Which I've only seen the first of, but when I heard what it was, the rest sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
It's a series of films where they do a documentary about them as kids or sort of a movie, and then they go back and revisit every 10 years?
Yeah, something like that. But they shoot it. I don't think they shoot it every 10 years. I think they shot it every couple of years, but showed like 10 years later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they started in the 80s or something.
Yeah.
God, that was an upsetting program to watch.
Well, I watched the first one, so it was, interesting.
Yes.
But yes. So Alice plays a widow named Ruth, 7 months pregnant, and believes she is being guided to kill people by her unborn baby.
Yeah, dude.
So she heads off on a homicidal rampage. Basically, the beginning of the film is like, oh, I guess that's what we're doing. Because she goes into saying she wants to buy her kid an exotic pet or something. And the guy shows her maybe a transfer or something. Then she stabs him and he dies. It's like, oh, okay. As the movie goes on, you figure out her revenge is actually motivated. Her husband was killed in a climbing accident where the lead person had to cut the line. So everybody lived but him. That's no longer true.
Jeez.
But,
way to minimize his death. Oh.
So she's got her baby's first notebook that she reads out of, which is filled with kind of horrifying things, bad drawings and creepy sayings. Like, all right. So that's her writing on the bus, is doing her baby's first notebook. And her neighbors were involved in killing, and they enjoy abusing their headboard, shall we say, in very loud ways, which bothers her at nights. And then the baby speaks for the first time, and it's actually pretty creepy. It's a nice, weird kid baby sounding voice, but that also sounds kind of surreal. So it works well. Does
it speak while it's still in her?
Yes. Yeah, she's 7 months pregnant, communicating with her baby. Well, her baby's talking to her at least.
Ooh.
And she keeps watching a show called Crimes with Passion from 1934, black and white, old movie. So she goes to the nurse, and the nurse is a pain in the ass, not real helpful, not real nice, terrible bedside manner. So she continues to sort of accept what's going on with the kid. She's not really fighting it too much. Kind of hooks up with a guy who they end up communicating for a while. It's sort of it's a long talking scene. He's sort of an incel type, and he throws up, and then they kiss. I'm like, as the kiss grows a little bit, his mom walks out of her room.
Oh my God.
And so she decides it's time to move on from this guy and stabs him and kills him.
Sure.
And then talks to the mom for a while. It's like, all right, okay. And the baby is not sweet because the baby says it's bitter. So I don't know, it's weird. Heads out onto a job interview that does not go well. And the lady ends up insulting her in very strange ways. And of course, a knife comes into play again. One thing that hurt the movie sort of a little bit was she does some of that Stallone or action hero quips after she kills people at times. Going, nah, probably don't need that. And the nurse, when she visits the nurse again, starts saying, well, maybe we should talk to social services. She flips out. She take my baby from me? No. So she keeps trying to blame the kid for wanting to do that, but it's becoming fairly obvious that that is not what's going on. Nice little line moment in the movie where she's trying to trick this lady to let her into the house, one of the women that was on the hiking. And she asks, well, do you have a toilet I could use? She looks at him, I have a toilet. That's an interesting thing. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say in a movie before when somebody asks them at their front door of their house, do you have a bathroom? Yeah, of course I do. I don't know even what this note is. She put on boxing gloves. Sure, why not? But then, probably because she goes to a club or a workout place, does a yoga class, and there you actually see a lot more depth of the detail of why she's upset with her husband, and that's kind of well done. Oh, this was almost a really good movie.
Really?
Yeah, she does some Halloween stuff, and the deaths are well motivated. The reason she's killing people is not random, and it's not weird. And I was sort of kind of debating even talking about this one, because it's like, okay, it's good, but it's not great. And then I read a little bit more about how it was made. I was kind of like, holy shit. One of the big ones, she was 8 months pregnant during the entire duration of the filming.
Whoa.
And I was like, okay, that's impressive. But what's even on par impressive, the film took 11 days.
Whoa.
8 days of shooting and 3 days of pickups.
Whoa.
Wow. I was like, holy crap, 8 months pregnant, and you're working at that thing. You're the director, you're the lead, and I'm pretty sure she's in every scene.
Whoa.
So it's like, that's impressive. That is a lot of work. And she thought of the premise of the movie while she was pregnant. So she was 8 months pregnant, thought of putting this movie because nobody was hiring her to do any acting. So she's like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to write my own movie, come up with my own thing, and raised enough money to, $100 and some odd $1,000 to shoot the film in under 8 months, shot it in 11 days, and finished it very shortly after that. Finished it timing well enough that she could use her own child after being born to be the child in the movie.
Oh my God.
It's like,
whoa.
Jesus.
That poor kid. Like, he's gonna look back on this and be like, what the fuck is up with my mom?
So that's sort of what got me going. It's sort of like we were talking about Resolution a little earlier, where those guys had like no money. Right. And what they put together I thought was really impressive. So, and Resolution's not a perfect movie either. It's got a lot of problems, but factor in the making of it with the film they ended up with, and I think it's really impressive. Mm-hmm. Revenge has some problems. But that's probably because they shot in, 11 days. I think if they'd had, another week,
right,
they might have pulled off a part of what hurts the film is a lot of it feels rushed. It feels like what I thought was maybe kind of clumsy camera work or maybe not great setup was because they had no time. Mm-hmm. So they shot and did what they got and got what they were able to shoot. And that was the film. That factored in, I go, maybe somebody should give this woman a budget and say, hey, why don't you work for 30 days? See what you can come up with. Mm-hmm. Because the writing was a little okay. And the directing for an 11-day shoot was pretty damn good.
Has she done anything since this?
Not directing wise. Well, some shorts, no features. But she's done more acting. I think she seems more focused on acting still than she does doing that.
I think we've spoken about this before. I wanted this to be funnier.
Yeah, that would have helped it.
Yeah.
It's kind of advertised as a comedy.
Yes.
And there are some funny moments.
Yes.
But that's sort of like a drama that has a couple comedy scenes.
Right. But I wish I had known about the 11-day shoot while I was watching it. I would have cut it a lot of slack.
Yeah. So that was mine one on there. As you can see, I went a little short because it's a fairly straightforward thing and it didn't grab me enough to really dig in while I'm watching it. My impression with it came more after I was researching it, after I'd watched it.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, I think if I'd known it was an 11-day shoot, I would have watched it with a different eye. I mean, it's good. It's easy to find. It's all over the place. I wrote down Shudder, but if you look it up, it's tons of places. It did incredibly well on its festival run.
Yeah.
Played all of the big festivals. So.
Yeah, I remember like definitely hearing it kicking around, and I don't know, now that you've described it, I'm a lot less interested in seeing it, but that's just me.
I could understand the hesitation.
Yeah, it's just it's fun.
Wow. Mine is also going to be short because it is also very straightforward.
Okay.
I went very literal with your spring topic and chose Spring Break with the movie There's Nothing Out There.
Let me get this straight. It's a house in the woods with 4 bedrooms, a pond, and nobody else for miles around.
Name a horror film. Any horror film.
This place is great.
Where's the bedrooms?
Why don't I take a nice stroll down that dirt path into the woods late tonight all by myself?
Ooh, I think I stepped on something.
Then afterwards, I can go skinny dipping in the pond.
I didn't see anything. It was probably nothing.
There is something out there. Don't forget, I've rented out every single horror film on videotape.
It's driving me crazy.
There's no need to worry.
What are we talking about here? Those things that pop out of your stomach when you least expect it?
Yes, I think you've seen some of these too.
There's no need to fear.
There's nothing out there. That's where the rest of the chicken was.
Yeah, no more dinner for me.
There's nothing out there.
Did you hear something? Oh, I know I heard something.
Because now it's in here.
Where's Jim? Jim's in the other room melting right now.
This can't be happening.
You don't know anything about that creature except it, like everyone else, hates a mouthful of shaving cream.
This can't be so.
You're right! No, you're quick. Nice bikini.
This stuff only happens in movies.
So you're saying we're in a movie?
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait, let me go! Oh! She looked into its eyes! This thing hasn't missed a trick. Controls minds, eats people, reproduces. This thing's gonna have itself an orgy.
It's a fight to the death with a slimy mutation. And that's how I spent my summer vacation.
You see the creature? Give him my best.
There's nothing out there.
Well, this was a fun vacation, Nick. Too bad we have to go home now.
From 20-year-old filmmaker Ralph Konevsky.
I believe we've all seen this one, right?
Yeah.
But this was a first time viewing for me.
Oh, sure.
This is from
what
1991.
a special moment. What a memory.
This was a blast, I will say that. The budget, $350,000. The box office, I could find no numbers for. No Rotten Tomatoes critics, but the audience has it at 63%. This is a trauma film.
That's what I thought. I
Is
wasn't
it
sure.
really? Because
Yeah.
I think I got it from Vinegar.
I think it's a trauma. I don't think it's a trauma. Is it trauma produced or
Well,
trauma
Trauma
distributed?
bought it,
Okay.
and we'll get into it. It was written and directed by Rolf Konevsky. Eric, do you remember when we hung out with Rolf at a very strange film festival?
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, he's a neat guy.
He was interesting.
He's an interesting guy. Is probably a better
Our
word for it.
film and like 3 other films were showing at the Santa Monica Public Library thing.
Oh my God,
the
that's
Tabloid
so
Witch
good.
Awards.
Yes. I believe the entire audience was cast and crew of the film.
Films, friends
Wow.
and family, yeah.
Yeah.
And Rolf was there and for his movie Nightmare Man. And so Tiffany Shepis had shown up. And I have a feeling that she thought maybe it was going to be something different because, she's probably used to a few more people at these kind of things.
Sure.
But because of that, we all just hung around and talked and drank, and it was a lot of fun. Rolf has done movies such as Jacqueline Hyde, Nightmare Man, and just recently Pool Boy Nightmare, which is a Hallmark scary movie. You know, they're scary in quotes.
Oh, wow.
A thriller, a sexy thriller.
Whoa. Okay.
But Rolf has like 115 credits.
Oh,
so
geez.
that guy has just been working, you know, since he was 20, basically, which is when he shot this. It stars Craig Peck, Wendy Benards, and Mark Culver. Normally, when I say it stars this, I tell you what other things they've been in.
Oh, sure.
But there's no reason for this because you've heard of none of them. They were all short films prior to this.
Oh, okay. All shot by Rolf?
A couple of them were, yeah. So let me just say this is a very low budget looking movie. 1991, $350,000 couldn't get you much because you would have had to pay for your cameras. You didn't have iPhones. You didn't have all the stuff that we have available now. So that $350,000 went to securing your film and all of that shit. When you take that into account, you can see all $350,000 on the screen.
Nice.
It starts with a young woman in a video store who is a kind of weird looking dude comes in and starts walking past all the horror films and everything. And then he drops a video on the counter and she goes to ring it up and he's nowhere to be seen. And then, of course, he kind of leaps out at her and starts stalking her through the video store. And she ends up getting caught up in videotape and hung by the videotape. But, I mean, that's a fantastic cold open, but
sure.
It's a dream sequence. This same girl wakes up suddenly. And this is what's so great about this dream sequence. She's driving. So she's driving down the road and she suddenly wakes up, but it's shot in a way that you think it's the typical, you know, she's waking up from a nightmare and she is, but then it pulls back to see the steering wheel and then she goes off of the road and hits a tree. So I was like, oh, this is pretty clever. I mean, it's listed as a horror comedy and it's a trauma film. So, you know, you're going to get whatever you're going to get.
Yeah.
And she lives through the crashing into the tree and she's sitting there, you know, thinking, oh, my dad's going to kill me and all this stuff when this tentacle thing comes and slaps against her window and she starts screaming because there's some kind of, there's something out there.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then we cut to our main group of characters who are a bunch of friends, 5 friends, of course, 2 couples, 2 attractive women, 2 attractive men, and their one tag-along nerdy buddy who happens to be a horror film nerd and equates everything in life to horror films. So that's kind of fun, and it's really fun because he's basically Jamie, what's his name in Scream,
yeah,
only 8 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying, you know, wait a second, you guys all want to go and spend the weekend up at a cabin in the woods? Don't you know what will happen there? And slashers and all of this stuff. And they all quit being such a weirdo. It's lucky this is a comedy because if you actually had a friend like this, the first thing you do is ditch him. And you certainly wouldn't invite him along to your couples retreat, even if you are in high school. So, for example, they get up to the house and there's all these warning signs that he's seeing. Basically, the way the road is shaped is enough to bother him. The fact that, you know, they're so far out in the middle of nowhere that nobody could hear anybody scream and all that. But one of the better ones is they go into the house and the movie cuts to a different set of movie punks, as I like to call them,
yes.
pulling up in a minivan, a very hodgepodge group. One of them has spiky hair. One's clearly a goth, although the other one is hardcore punk. And all of these people are all hanging out together and they pull up to the other side of the lake. They strip down and decide to go skinny dipping. And when I say lake, this is really just a large pond. Yeah. And the house just kind of sits on the edge of it. And they're splashing around naked in the water. And the guy who owns his folks own the cabin, he walks out on the deck with a nerdy kid, Mike. And he's like, hey, excuse me, what are you doing? Well, we're skinny dipping. And he's like, yeah, I know. What are you doing here? Isn't this the house on the house on the lake? And he goes, no, this is the cabin on the pond. And they're like, oh, okay, sorry. And so they gather up their stuff and take off. But Mike is like, what are you doing? I mean, clearly, this is fodder for the serial killer. We want them here so that whatever's coming for us gets distracted by them. So this is the kind of humor you're dealing with in this movie. It's very silly. The movie's called There's Nothing Out There, but there is something out there. We saw it in the opening scene, and it is a very, very bad-looking alien puppet that shoots bad special effects from its eyes. And it slowly starts taking everyone out. And this thing is the perfect movie monster because it can do everything. If it hits you with its very bad green laser eyes, it can then control your mind. But it's also trying to impregnate you. So there's all of this stuff going on with the alien taking people out one by one, and with Mike being the only one who knows what to do. There's really not much more to this movie. The reveal of the alien when you actually see it in the light is so much worse than I thought it was going to be based on the cover that I saw.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I'm a little disappointed because the cover was clearly done by Troma and they used a different monster on it, which was much better looking.
Oh my.
So that was sad for me. The acting was so, and but everything was put together very well and very competently, and even more so when you think about this. I do have a little bit of trivia. I will say this movie 100% entertaining and a very, very clever ending that I did not see coming. So
nice.
So Rolf made this when he was 20 years old.
Jeez.
He wrote the screenplay in 5 days when he was a senior in high school. His folks put a mortgage on their house to raise the budget.
Oh my God.
So that's a lot of faith in your kid.
That's some loving parents.
Yeah, I needed those parents. My parents, did I ever tell you this? My parents, when I graduated, let me know, I lived up in Bellingham, Washington. They let me know that they were moving to Hawaii.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And my mom said, yeah.
Wow.
Right. So that's when I decided to move to LA and try to be a screenwriter.
Wow.
So one of the things I did love about this, because it was such a low budget film, the cast shot almost the entire movie on VHS video as a rehearsal. And then once they nailed the angles down and everything, they recreated it on film.
Smart.
And with that kind of stuff going on, it's really kind of amazing. We all know how hard it is to make any kind of movie, much less a good movie. Yeah. And when something like this comes along and you see that it is all charm and basically by the willpower of one kid who had, his parents saying, we believe in you, it's like, holy shit, this is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Now, Rolf didn't go on to make many other films you've heard of, but he's gone on to make a ton of other films. And he even wrote the screenplay for Blonde and Blonder, if you remember that.
I don't, but that's okay.
It was the female version of Dumb and Dumber, and it had, I can't remember a couple of hot blondes that we all know, I'm sure. Yeah. It was 2006.
Sure.
So this is just a fun movie, kind of amazing, very hard to find. So...
never mind.
Yeah, that's right. Just keep your mouth shut.
Probably available on YouTube. I think you said Vinegar Syndrome.
I bought a Vinegar Syndrome version, and it's got like a cool, interesting cover.
Well, maybe I did see it on YouTube.
Maybe. Yeah, and the cool thing is if you can get a copy of the actual film with the extras and stuff, they actually show like the footage that they had shot for the behind the scenes, like not behind the scenes, but the rehearsal footage. And it's really cute because it's like the guy who's, the kid whose film it is, and he's got his like brother standing in shots. He's like, yeah, okay, run over there. And his brother's like, ugh. And right. And he's like, okay, pretend you're a hot chick now. And he's like, oh, he like wants to leave so bad. It's so good.
That's hilarious. I will say this. I'll justify this by saying it happens over spring break.
Yeah.
There is a ton of sex, and there's even new life as this creature tries to impregnate you with its spawn.
Oh.
So that's my movie.
I loved that movie, and I think that part of the charm was just watching that creature try so hard and just be so discouraged when things went wrong. And it's like, no, I gotta break in this window. What are you doing? Now it has to like shuffle around to like the doggy door or whatever.
There is a lot of humor in this, and I think that if I had seen this when I was 20, and Rolf is our age, so we would have been the same age when the movie came out, I think that I would have just been busting a gut over the sheer audacity of making a movie this silly and then getting it distributed. Distributed. Thank you. Yes.
Awesome.
So yeah, I loved it. I like I said, whenever you guys pick a topic, I'm like, well, I'm going to research these words and stuff. And this came up, and there were a lot of reviews on IMDb. It's got like a 6.2 on IMDb. Wow. Every film has a 6.2 on IMDb, it seems, unless the film is really shitty.
Yeah.
And I was like, could this Troma film be good? And there were review after review saying how much they loved it. And then every once in a while, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. The people who are saying they love it are obviously idiots. And then, another person, 10 stars. The person who's saying it's the worst film she's ever seen doesn't realize at all what this film is. And it really is just, one of the bad reviews was, tries to be meta like Scream, but fails miserably. No! I was like, well, there you go.
There's your timing. Let me check the date here.
Yeah.
There it is.
But I'm always amazed by the people that say, worst film ever. It's like, first thought is, how many movies have you seen?
Totally.
Because obviously it ain't very many. And I don't know. I can't, maybe it's because we've made movies, but just the concept, unless if it's a bigger budget film, less slack. But if it's a low budget film and they got it completed and they got it out and they got distribution, star and a half right from there. Yeah. And we can go up depending on how good the movie is.
Also, who the fuck are you that you saw a low budget film, you didn't like it, and you didn't like it enough, you had to go on and post that you didn't like it?
That's pretty shady. That's some shady shit.
That asshole, if he loved it, wouldn't have bothered to post that he loved it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you.
Fuck you, Mike W. Verified purchase.
So who's up? Who we got next?
Oh,
yeah, who's next?
It's my turn. It's my turn. And I believe that I'm falling on or near April 1st.
What?
Yeah, the release. We've got one that comes out on April 1st.
Oh my God.
And so with that in mind, my fellow radio announcers here, how about we go and take films that have pranks in them?
Ooh, I love it. I can already think of like 5. This is so exciting.
Tell me what they are so I can steal one of them. Is it The Fog?
I don't think there's any pranks in The Fog.
She pranked her kid.
She sure did. I love you. Just kidding.
I was gonna say, well, I guess the leper colonies kind of gets pranked. They kind of get punked by the priests. That's pretty rough. I can make this work. I can spitball this into a being.
All right, so that's what we're thinking. Pranks for April 1st.
Awesome.
Cool.
If you pick April Fool's Day, I'm gonna rage.
Okay. I guess I'll take that one off the list. There's 2. Which one? Which one don't you want?
Either or. No, I think April Fool's Day is actually a very good movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen April Fool's Day.
I've
seen April Fool's Day that isn't April Fool's Day.
Oh.
Yeah. Slaughter High.
All right. Yeah. All right, so that's what we're doing. Once again, thank you for everything. Value for value, people. We really value you. I assume you value this. You value your time, right? And here you are spending an hour and a half with us every week. So
thank you.
It's worth something.
Thank you.
And think about it. We'll be back in a week and we can talk more about it.
Cool. See ya.
Sounds good.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts